You're listening to Tapestry, a podcast by a music lover for music lovers. I'm your host, Kelly. Music is a thread that weaves a course throughout our lives. Join me on a journey to unravel that thread and bring you the stories behind what inspires musicians to create. Side note, Tapestry is an uncensored podcast. Don't say I didn't warn you. Hey everybody, thanks for joining me for another episode of Tapestry. This is episode 49, and today I'm joined by my long-term internet friend, Aman, who records under the solo project name Brosandi. Now, we had a lot of things to talk about, but there were a couple interesting things I guess I can point out. I was really surprised to learn about where he gets inspiration from, all sorts of sounds, human or otherwise. Plus, we discussed things like combating stereotypes about masculinity in the music scene and how to create more welcoming environments for people in that scene. He also told me his myriad of theories on what makes videos and songs go viral on platforms like TikTok and Instagram, and why our attention spans have changed how we consume and market music. You're listening to a little bit of his latest single, Your Warmth is Infectious.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so after some small technical difficulties, we're having a second start to episode 49 of Tapestry. And why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about your musical projects and your musical history.
Hello, I am Aman, and I make music under Brosandi. A history about my artist name. My favorite band is Sigur Rós, and one of my favorite songs. The first song I heard by them is called Hoppy Pola, and it's the first letter of the song, first word of the song. So I was having a hard time finding an artist name. So one day it just like clicked with me that I looked up the meaning of the name, and it means smiling. It just means simply smiling. And I thought, well, I do want to like make people feel stuff with my music. Like that's the primary direction of it. So I went with that, and that's how it began. So initially it began as a post-rock project. Then I dived into like an ambient territory, and then I got into like a lot of other stuff like neoclassical math rock and stuff. Like I can finally like apply to it, and now it's just like a mix of everything. Like I'm trying to do anything, but with the main purpose of my music to make people feel something, to make people feel the same feelings how I feel when I listen to my favorite artists.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I went to your Bandcamp page and I saw your little note in the description. It said your sole goal is to elevate the listener's emotions to make them feel something they've never felt before. That's kind of what I want to get out of music when I listen to it. So I know.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say that's definitely part of the reason I reached out to you, aside from us, kind of casually interacting over months in different Facebook groups. But I think a big appeal of your music to me is like, you always seem so happy making it. You always have this just positivity and elation on your face when you're playing. And I know for some people, music seems like this hugely serious technical endeavor. And I'm not saying that your music isn't serious or technical, but it seems like it's a lot more about just the passing feeling. Like, what drew you to that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, that's really nice to hear, because that's what I always try to convey whenever I play. That to have fun first, and then like worry about the technicalities and stuff. So sometimes like I feel that I'm like too serious while I'm playing, but that like really makes me feel more secure about like playing. What is it?
Well, kind of what drew you to, or I guess maybe if you could like walk me back through how you got started playing the instruments you play, and like, did you over time kind of feel as if it was like the more emotional pulse of things that got you continuing playing those instruments.
Yeah, so I'll start way back from 2011. That's when I got my first guitar. After I kept begging my dad to like get me a guitar, and it was like hard to like convince him. But I don't know. I guess one day his mood, he was in a really nice mood, and I asked him like to like get me a guitar, like probably the last time, and we were like outside too, like we were in the city, and this was back in India, and he just like agreed to it, and he got me it. And the thing happened was, once I got the guitar, that I was still in India, but I was planning to come to Canada. Once I got the guitar, the next day I got my visa, the study visa to Canada. So
okay.
I could not bring the guitar here, but that was like a small like drawback in the beginning. But I guess musically speaking, luck was kind of on my side, because when I arrived in Canada in January 2012, the homestead family I was staying with, they were like really nice people from El Salvador, and they were all super musically inclined. Like they had piano, they had violin, they had like guitars and stuff. They used to play like Sunday worship at church, so they were like really musically inclined family. And like we talked and stuff. Like the first week, I was super shy. In the second week, I asked them, since I don't have a guitar temporary, but I want to learn, can I borrow your classical guitar? And I I got that for like I borrowed that for a month or two. Then I got my first acoustic, and for initially, I was not thinking that I would be like sticking with it that long. Because I mean, it's like any instrument is like really hard in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
So, but what kept me going is like every day I was progressing, and I had a really good support system. I was like always sending people, no matter like how shit I played, I was like just sending people my samples that, oh, just hear like what I did today, even if I just played one chord correctly. So that support system really helped me. One of my best friends, Shivang from India, we have been like in touch since seventh grade, and he was like always helping me out, like in giving feedback and stuff. And then I started discovering more artists, like John Mayer.
Oh yeah. Yep.
That's I think that was, I think I only listened to him in the first year I played guitar, and I listened to every single song by him, and his every single song and every live version of those songs and the stuff that he used to play before he was famous. And that kind of shaped my whole playing in the beginning. That's like in the early years. Uh, I started looking outside just the simple chords and stuff. That really got my more interest in the guitar, and I started learning different shapes and stuff. Then I got into some thrash metal like Megadeth and Metallica.
That's quite a shift.
Yeah, I know. I started learning their riffs. Like slowly, even though I was like still like not really yet up to speed. But I was slowly like learning, like one by one, like learning the riffs and stuff. And this was 2011 to 2013. By 2013, 14, I got into the 70s prog rock. King Crimson, yes, Genesis, those kind of bands, and that. Plus, I got into math rock. That was the time I got into math rock by the end of 2013. So that like was a huge shift to like like whatever I knew until then. That was like nothing to what like I was diving into after that.
That kind of sounds like learning to run before you know how to walk. I mean, that's
Yeah.
and I only say that because I'm a type of person who's guilty of that. But it
Yeah.
sounds like you really just had an insatiable, like curiosity for music.
Yeah, I was like always super curious, because the way I can't really put into words to how I felt about it back then. Plus, I was really young too, and I had a lot of motivation. I was in a good mental state, so I was like practicing 5 to 6 hours every day back
Oh
then.
wow.
Yeah,
And how old were you when you first picked up guitar?
18.
Okay, so kind of a late bloomer, I guess, if you hadn't played any other instruments.
And even though sometimes I kick myself that, oh man, I picked up super late, but I think it kind of worked out well. I mean, I think everything has its own time, and it doesn't matter that when I picked up the guitar, it was the right time that I picked up the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And
wow, that's
yeah.
I thank you for telling me that story, because a lot of times when I ask people like, "What's your musical journey?" I mean, it's not that it's not interesting, but that yours is like literally a global span of multicultural influences
for
and
sure.
Traveling and stuff. Like, did you find growing up in India that you maybe I don't know. I mean, I guess culturally the music is quite different than what you're going to hear in a lot of North America. Like, how did you come across artists like John Mayer and other international artists that you like now?
Okay, yeah. So that's also kind of a long story and kind of a funny story. Like, I'm not a good storyteller, so I'm sorry that if I go all over the place every now and then.
That's fine.
Okay, so growing up, I was into a lot of Punjabi and Hindi music. That's like our most essential music in India. Mostly to dance and stuff. But and I would like try to sing that stuff, but I was super shitty. It's super shit at singing. But it was like fun to listen to. And I think when I was in 7th or 8th grade, then I started getting into like Western music, like Linkin Park, Eminem, Green Day, those kind of bands.
Even in India, every teenager listens to Linkin Park.
Pretty much. That's like, I think that's the most. Linkin Park is the most essential band for like any 7th, 8th grade. But if you haven't cried to the video of Numb, have you?
It truly nation's borders are meaningless when every 17-year-old could cry to Linkin Park. Oh my god!
And there were like a lot of those animated music videos with Dragon Ball Z and Naruto.
Oh, like AMVs.
Yeah, AMVs.
Yeah. Nice. See, I'm already derailing your story. I'm sorry.
No worries. Yeah, so I got into those. So I started with these bands, and after a while with these bands, I really got into rap music, like strictly only like rap music. Either I don't know, it's like all the whole like rap movement in the 2000s and in the 1990s, the Wu-Tang Clan, Tupac and Notorious Big and like those kind of stuff. And I was super interested in the learning about like that stuff. I only like learned about like where they come from, like how like and there were like a lot of used to rivalries back then.
Oh yeah, the West Coast, East Coast, all that stuff.
Yeah, and that was like super fun fact to like read stuff. And in now moving up to like 11th grade, I started getting into what is called the dad rock, the hard rock stuff, the Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, and stuff. But I was still like super into rap music, and I wish that I had learned more about production stuff back then. But I was just listening to the beats and like some like they're like rapping and stuff. And I downloaded software called FL Studio back then.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
What is that Fruity Loops, right?
Yeah, Fruity Loops. Yeah, I downloaded that back then, but I did not know anything about it, and I did not even bother like know that where to start like with this kind of stuff. So I used it for like a few months, and I deleted it, and that was like no use. That's something that now if I look back, I wish that, oh man, if I had like some direction and I was like starting producing like from back then, imagine where I would be. Probably a SoundCloud driver or something. So that didn't really worked out. So so my best friend Shivang, I was still in touch with him, and we were like even though like he had moved away in we met in 7th grade and he moved away in 9th grade, but we were in touch with emails and stuff back then. Because we didn't have phones, like kids didn't have phones back then. It was not as normal. So we would like always recommend video games and like music to each other, and then I came across Stairway to Heaven, and that was kind of like a big, like that had a big impact on me back then. And I would always picture like doing the solo like over and over again in my head. And that was that song also like has a big hand in like making me go like wild about guitar back then.
Well, what a guitarist to try to, I guess, expand your mind with guitar with. I mean, Led Zeppelin, it was just
Yeah.
so formative to so
Yeah.
many people, like regardless of age. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, if you grew up in the 70s listening to them, that stuff was just like out of this world.
Yeah.
Even if you discover it decades later. I mean, I've actually been going through a Led Zeppelin phase myself, and I'm kind of like, whoa, like,
Yeah.
holy crap. I
For sure.
can see why this was so revolutionary.
Yeah, exactly. I listened to them a lot back then. Then I got into like their full albums later on. That was a habit I formed like a little bit later. Because in the beginning, I used to just listen to the main stuff, the top 10 songs by like most bands. Yeah, I would. So I still kept listening. Sorry, you asked me that which guitarists.
Well, I guess I was just curious how you eventually came to find all this music, but I know that's sort of what you're in the process of telling me, like learning about recommendations through your friends and stuff.
And the recommendations from a few from him, like that was the beginning of like making my own music taste. So he had a big hand in that in the beginning, and he also recommended Pink Floyd too back then. The song called Echoes.
Oh my God, this is so timely. This whole week I have been listening to all the Pink Floyd records that I've never heard. Like I have never, I didn't finish it. Okay. I still have not finished it. I still have not even heard The Wall in full. Like I don't know how I can call myself a music snob if I haven't even listened to a lot of Pink Floyd records. But
no, that's totally okay.
Echoes is such a wild track though. It's so creepy in the middle and
so
like
creepy.
Goes all these places.
And like it's so long. It's a journey. Like, it's such a great song, and the solos in it, and the whole the synths in it, and the lyrics. Like it's so amazing.
This is seriously wild. You just mentioned this because I was listening to that album Metal last week, and it's real calm towards the end, and I was starting to get closer to bedtime, and I'm like, I'll just let this play out as I go to sleep. And then I let Echoes play, and there's like the screeching and the weird screaming, and I'm like, oh my God, what the hell is this? I can't fall asleep to this. Like no one can fall asleep to this.
It's so creepy. Yeah. And I think he did all by the guitar.
Well, who, David Gilmour?
Yeah, David Gilmour.
Well, like did that, I guess let me turn this into a question instead of an aside or a story, but does hearing stuff like that, like the super noisy, like crazy experimental stuff, did that really appeal to you back then when you were in the guitar learning phase? Like, did you want to skip all the fundamentals and go straight to the weird stuff?
It did, yeah. I of course it did. I think that's that I have always liked about myself, that I'm super open to new stuff. Like how weird it is, it doesn't matter to me. Like as long as it sounds like cool to my ears, doesn't matter if it's like ugly to my ears or soothing to my ears. As long as like it's interesting, I will chase that direction. So so like this song, this is like a 23-minute long song, and to look back like 10 years ago, I feel like, damn, I had a pretty good taste back then, that I was listening to 23-minute long songs back then. which of course led me to listen to more longer songs, like from Dream Theater, what's called Genesis, and Yes, they all have like 26-minute long songs, 40-minute long songs. So it's kind of makes sense to me now that why I moved to that direction.
Do you think that was something that appealed to you then, that kind of informs how you, maybe not in a 26-minute long song, but in a smaller format, like want to get your listener to go on a journey?
Yeah, for sure. I have like when I started like composing my own music like 4 years ago, I used to think that, oh man, I should like make long songs like that, but then I realized that it like if I'm gonna like force my music to be long just for the sake of it, there's like no point to it unless it comes to me naturally. Like unless there's a point to it, what I'm gonna make my listeners feel.
Well, let's start with your first EP then, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, unless it wasn't on Spotify, your first EP was the one you put out in 2018, The Music for
Yes.
an Unknown Galaxy,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
How did that album come to be? And I guess what I'm hearing you say is sort of like you've been leading up to this whole self-conception of like, how do I make music? And
Yeah.
then boom, suddenly in 2018 you do it.
Yeah.
What was happening in your life that finally made you go, all right, I'm doing it?
So I had been off from my job for almost 2 years because of personal reasons, and I was like just staying home. I stayed home without a job for almost 3-4 years, but we'll get back to it later. So and that was like a time for me that I really grew up as a musician. Because in 2016 I played my very first show in Ottawa. And after that, I was just playing open mics and doing covers from Joey Satriani and Steve Vai, like just instrumental stuff. I did that for like a few. Well, I'll say a year or so. I did that. But then I got a looper pedal, and at home I was just like stop making like these playing with these long delays and reverbs and stuff. And I came up with this one idea, the song called the third song on the EP after we knew. That was the first ever song that I came up with. That I thought maybe that this could like lead to something. And then I tested that like playing live with like looping pedals. That was like back then. It was like super. I was super beginning into composing, and my arranging was like not. I felt that it was not. It was very inadequate and stuff. But now that I think that it was okay. So that was like a part of like finding my own sound, the post rock sound that I was after listening to all the post rock bands and stuff. But that time I didn't know much of the production stuff or any amp sims or even to fucking play with the metronome. The whole album.
That's a sign you're a real guitarist.
Yeah, the whole album I played without metronome. I just like hit the record and add layers and layers and layers, and that's how I made it. And I borrowed my friend's Strymon Big Sky pedal. That's kind of known as like one of the best delay pedals ever. not delay, the reverb pedals ever, and I used it on the whole album.
Well, it's I do really enjoy that album because it is like a short little just ambient, spacious, beautiful thing. And
thank you.
It's actually crazy to hear you say it now that you've only been making music for such a relatively short amount of time, because to me I feel like I think your music has a really nice quality of like self-awareness to it, and definitely from the videos you post on social media, like you're very open about how you're feeling when you're making music or the experience you want to pass on to the listener. And I think that's a quality that's maybe a little bit hard to come by.
Yeah, that's what I try to do always. That's what I try to do. Like no matter whatever I'm feeling like without any filter, I just like put it out there. And
it feels very transparent.
Yeah. And it is very daunting because you're putting yourself, you're bearing yourself out there to all kinds of criticism in the world.
Well, can I kind of, it's not totally a left turn, but I guess I could in a way connect this to one of the topics that you filled out in my questionnaire. And I was really, really intrigued by this, and I definitely want to discuss it. So you had mentioned things that people can do to make a safer space for like femme folks and minorities and like just people who maybe don't fit the mold of kind of what you're expecting in the musical world. Like, how do you feel you fall into that, and what are your thoughts on that?
For myself, I am I don't know where to start with this. To make like a safe place for them, and to it's a matter of like including them more, like more representation. Like when you're booking shows, you like include people. Like you have to go out of people. You have to go out of the way to look for bands that fall in those criterias, to to make it an inclusion of the marginalized people. And to make it, and for the femme folks, you know, the most obnoxious thing that I always see is, whenever like there was, personally I have witnessed it once, but literally from all my female friends, from all my female friends, I've noticed this one thing, that they get asked that even the most basic questions. They are holding a guitar, they are loading up their own stuff, they get asked that, oh, do you play guitar? And like, it's in front of you, like her name is there, like what do you not
She's holding
listen?
it.
Yeah, she's carrying the amp. Like, does it not make you any clear that she's playing there, they're playing there? And like, what makes you like ask it in that way? uh
Yeah, I think it makes people uncomfortable when they're not seeing the people that they expect in their own scene or their own musical community. Like I feel like I can relate to that quite well, being a self-identified metalhead, and of course being a female metalhead. Not that it really matters, but it's just, okay, I am clearly a person who does not maybe look like everybody else I'm surrounded by, which granted I have not had bad experiences with that, but I can say I'm grateful for that, because a lot of people have terrible experiences with that exact kind of gatekeeping and questioning and stuff, which is really unfortunate.
The marginalized people, they always feel like they have to prove something to these people. Like they don't have to. Like it's always the thing that the gatekeeping thing, as you mentioned, that so I'll tell you the most recent incident that you probably heard. This girl on TikTok, she was wearing the Metallica t-shirt. And
the girl, doesn't she have like a neon green guitar, and she like whips it out and plays all these riffs?
That's like the biggest thing. Like, why does she have to prove herself to some random person with like 0 followers? Why does she do that? Like, why do people like do this kind of stuff, you know?
Well, I guess I want to maybe get in your head there with that, because I totally agree with everything you just said. But I guess I see like a lot of your music kind of maybe subvert some typical tropes about masculinity and stuff. Like it's very sensitive, it's very soft and sweet. And do you feel like, are you pretty I think you're pretty secure in that, but do you feel otherwise, or do you feel like you have to maybe like occupy this different space that is always competing against like aggressive, aggro, manly stuff?
Oh, no way. I'm really secure with my masculinity. I'm very open about myself, and I'm super sensitive about like some stuff, and whatever I'm sensitive about, I speak about it like very openly. And I don't need the feel to like make some brave face in front of the world. So, yeah.
Okay, that's refreshing to hear, honestly. And like, it is funny because the math rock, post rock world, like both of those things, I guess they do tend to.
It's full of bearded dudes with those red shirts. What are they called? I forgot what they're called. Lumberjack dudes with
flannels. Yeah, flannels.
Those flannels.
With curly handlebar mustaches and thick rimmed glasses. But it's just funny how we like, speaking universally here, like as people who listen to music and care a great deal about music, I think it's funny that we tend to kind of subconsciously divide ourselves into these little worlds and tribes and stuff, when it's kind of like, you know what, we're all playing the same 12 notes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what's the big deal in categorizing it down to the nth degree?
Unless you are Jacob Collier.
Jacob Collier does not only use 12 notes.
Sorry.
I was like, I wonder if our conversation is going to touch on Jacob Collier, because let's take it there. So Jacob Collier is like, I actually think he's a really good example of someone who appears very secure in
Yeah,
his masculinity, even though he's
yeah.
not like this tough guy, but
He's
he is
super.
a
He's super goofy.
genius
Yeah, he is.
musician, and he does not care what anyone thinks of his
Exactly.
stuff because he just makes whatever he wants.
Exactly. And his most of his criticism is like is some a lot of times is centered around his like the way he looks, and sometimes his like whole personality, like how open he is about like whatever he feels about music. And he's the type of person who feels like very deeply about music. Like in any of the interviews I have seen from him, that's like really clear that how he feels about it. And like even though if you don't relate to his music, one thing you can do is respect it, like what he does.
Oh yeah, I mean the guy has perfect pitch, and
Yeah.
I listened to a podcast about him, and he actually said in a way it's kind of like a weird curse because he'll be in a restaurant and someone drops a glass and he's like, oh, that glass just broke in D sharp, and like he can't turn that off.
Yeah.
But he said it gives him like this immense sensitivity to sound and
Yeah.
noise and kind of how it affects him. And
Yeah.
I think that quality about him is so interesting. And there's like, that's a quality I enjoy in any musician where their apparent sensitivity
Yeah.
becomes apparent through their music.
Yeah. For me, I always hear like some kind of rhythm going on in my head. Listening to like all kinds of music from the world, there's like always sometimes there's this weird kind of rhythm going in my head, and sometimes when I hear a dog drinking water, I start counting what what is he doing. And a lot of times you find that they drink in 7-8.
Okay, that's going to be the audio clip for this entire episode. Prague dogs. Do you have a dog at home that you frequently listen to drink?
Oh man, we had back in India. We had two dogs. We had a black Labrador and we had a golden retriever. They were both really good girls, but they're not in this world anymore. Yeah. I mean, if I was into music that much back then, I probably would have like made a beat out of it.
Well, okay, I was just going to ask you what's the like I guess like what philosophy or what occurrence most frequently inspires you, but then also too, could you go into detail a little bit on kind of what your writing process is?
Oh man, that's so all over the place. Where do I even start from that? So okay, so I always felt that I need to like learn some other instrument too, to increase my quality of music, my production quality, and just the knowledge of music. So I I learned just a little bit of piano last year. Like in 2019 I started learning piano a little bit here and there, which I got very serious about it, and that. That helped me. And I wrote my 2000 the last EP after that, and then
the 3 postcards and a
yeah,
letter.
yeah.
Okay.
I did that, and then I stopped playing piano that much. I don't know why, but I touch it sometimes. But that really helped me like understanding more on the theory side of music, just on the basic level. And I try to apply that when I play guitar. So with the guitar, I have started playing 90% of my stuff in open tunings. And like I try not to like fall into the typical tappy Midwest kind of stuff. But that's my so I start with like a tuning. I pick up a tuning and I will just play. Let's try to learn all the on the frets, because in open tunings you can play pretty much in one key, either a major key or a minor key, um, of the same. I don't like same note.
Yeah.
So I try to like drive through the whole fretboard. Then once I have that down, then I try to like work out ideas and stuff. So I start forming these small fragments of that sometimes I can use one fragment and make a whole song out of it. So that's an example of that is the my new single "Your Warmth Is Infectious." I played just like two harmonics and two notes on a autumn day last year, and I thought, wow, that's kind of neat, and I can kind of put a beat on that. And I literally did that. I sometimes do that, and sometimes I will use a bunch of fragments. I will like use them all for like one songs, and then add like more layers to it and more. What's it called? Yeah, more layers and different production elements to it, and a lot of my inspiration also strikes from what I'm listening at the moment. If I'm listening something, and if I think that, wow, that sounds so interesting, what if I replicate that and put it in the current idea I'm working on? I do that as well.
You may be competition to me for your encyclopedic knowledge of a lot of different artists, but I was just scrolling through the Brosandi page before this, and I scrolled down to your one video where think you were playing bass. I could be wrong, but it was the one where you said you were inspired by Flying Lotus and how you had been listening to a lot of 70s Italian soul.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, this is a guy who gets around. I mean, I already knew this, but to my listeners, like, yes, this is a guy who gets around with music, clearly. Is it ever difficult for you to feel like you maintain your own sense of style when you're like constantly pulling in these different, totally, juxtaposed genres?
Not to me, but when I try to like tell people about it, it's kind of hard to like to show them that the way how it's making me feel, to make them feel that way about that song, to get into them too.
This is making me think more about how I listen to music now, because my taste is all over the place, but it's like, surely there's got to be this one through line through everything that makes it, appealing to my ears. And it's like, oh, well, what is that?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's an answer to that.
Because I like I'm not sure if I have like a top 10 artists of all time. Like I can say my top 10 in like different genres.
Probably, well, Ben Howard, I would imagine, is the one I always hear you talking about. And I'm actually curious about him as an artist, because I have not listened to much of his stuff.
Oh, he's great. He's the best artist ever. He's one of the most innovative guitar players, innovative musician, and lyrical genius of like our time. He started playing. He came out with his first EP in 2008, 2009ish. That was simply just folk guitar stuff. But the thing about him is he also have a very certain finger picking style. It's called pick and go.
Pick and go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't. I don't know how to explain it, but if you see like one of his songs live, from his first album and from his first EPs, then it'll kind of make sense to you. So I discovered him in 2012ish. That time I was discovering him, and I discovered him from this from this YouTube channel. This guy, he teaches lesson of these obscure guitarists, or like unconventional guitarists. That's how like most of his songs were. So that's how I discovered him. And his first album is like very folky and happy-ish kind of vibe. And then he came out with a second album that was all electric guitars and like reverbs and delays and stuff. But his quality of music, his signature voice and how he writes his lyrics, that was all there. But like the music was so innovative, and like, I don't know. It was kind of like it was like a whole very dreamscape, with some songs had like super post rock type of endings and ambient, just drowning in reverbs and those kind of stuff. And that was like a very sad album. And then he came up with his third album in 2018. That was also a very sad album, but the sound of that album was like also completely different from the second one.
Now that you say that about, this was kind of a sad album and stuff,
Yeah.
like I think about how math rock grew out of emo and how I think a lot of people tend to, yes, I mean, like emo is short for emotional,
Yeah.
but I don't know why, at least in Western culture, we tend to associate emo with sad,
Yeah.
whereas emo or being emotional can be being joyful or passionate or triumphant. Like,
that's true.
I don't know. I mean,
true. I never thought of it that way.
yeah, I kind of wish people would reframe that because emo doesn't, to me, need to be sad.
Yeah,
like
it doesn't need to be sad.
Yeah, personally, I like to listen to pensive stuff that makes me kind of like sit in a melancholy state.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, there's a whole like spectrum of feelings. Why would we not want to feel all those feelings?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I'll have to think about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Maybe just spark something. I did want to address something else now that you mentioned, I mentioned, and then you mentioned Ben Howard, but like going back to talking about Pink Floyd and David Gilmour and stuff, do you feel as a guitarist that we've reached an age where everything has been done on guitar? Like it's an instrument that's been around for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
How can we still innovate?
I sometimes feel that it's been done, but sometimes then I see like these new guitarists on Instagram and they're like doing this insane stuff that I've like never seen before. It's kind of like hard to say that something's been done, especially when it comes to music, because music is like endless. So, but these days I'm not seeing a lot of much guitar music outside of the prog and the math rock community. Like I'm seeing guitar being used as an atmospheric and like textural instrument rather than a main instrument.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good observation.
Yeah, but I
feel like the rock and roll solo era it's not dead, but I mean it's changed. I mean, you still have the shredder type guys.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I don't know. It's just changed.
Yeah, you have those guys doing their own like 100 notes per minute kind of stuff, and then you have indie kind of indie or shoegaze type of bands that focus on reverberated guitars, a lot of delays and stuff. So I think in the future it's probably going to be used mostly as a textural atmospheric instrument. Yeah.
I could live in a world where guitar is a textural instrument. Yeah. I mean, I love guitar, but I also feel like sometimes it just is like the car crashing through the wall. It's like, hey, I'm the guitar. Look at me. I'm the only important thing here. And I'm the backbone of Western music, where it's like,
that's true.
There's a lot of other stuff that, or at least like a lot of other sounds that can be made that aren't just clean lead through a Fender
for sure
Stratocaster.
Exactly. In like 2018 I had this I guess it kind of caught up to me. Like I had pain in my left wrist by playing guitar with bad habits. So 2018 2019 I didn't play much guitar. I just focused on producing and stuff. And then in 2019 also I didn't play much, just focus on producing. I got into composing, like doing orchestral compositions too. And
tell me more about that if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure. Wait, I'll finish this part first.
No, that's fine.
Then last year I kind of like found my inspiration again in guitar, and I think I was really happy because I was like kind of on a big writer's block on guitar for like a long time, but only like last year summer that I started developing ideas like more concisely and like more that I feel like I can finish. So that's about that. And the orchestral stuff, like because I'm really into film music too. I'm big into film music.
Okay.
And you're gonna ask a question?
No. I was just going along with that. I don't watch many films, but I do love me a great soundtrack.
So I'm really into film scores and stuff, and I do want to try to get into scoring for films as well as a side thing, or even as a bigger thing if that works out. Um, and I did. I haven't told this to anyone, but I did soundtrack for this short movie last year.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, that was a super fun project, and it was really fun working with an actual director and like taking their guidelines and turning their ideas to something to the visual medium. This was really fun.
Were you nervous about taking on a huge opportunity like that? And what did you learn about yourself and your musicianship by doing that?
I learned a lot. I learned a lot of stuff that how the sound works with the picture and how, like, literally how even a small instance of sound can change the whole scene. Like the soundtrack can make like a really like a mediocre scene to like super elevating and super up that, and it can make a really great scene into like kind of a mediocre scene if the soundtrack is not good.
Yeah, I follow.
Yeah, and I found this project. I mean, I'm always going through like different social medias, and I'm going through Kickstarters and Indiegogo to see if there are like any upcoming directors that are funding their movies that need
Oh,
need
that's smart.
yeah, nobody knows about that, but they will after this. So yeah, I'm like always scorching through that, like to find some kind of work in the music field, you know. Yeah, and I've always liked classical music too, and classical music and film scores, they always go hand to hand. Um, so
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I didn't know you did that, and
yeah,
I didn't even know you had an interest in it really. But
yeah.
what I guess do tend to ask this closer to the end, but I have to ask now. Like, what are your goals then as a musician over the next coming months with that?
Currently, I want to build like my own fan base for Brosandi. That's why this year I'm going a different route. So all the ideas that I've worked like in the past couple of years, I have like picked a few of them a few of them based on response, how it got on the Instagram and Facebook, like whichever people like more. I separated those out. I'm slowly working my way up there to release them one by one and like build some following. So when I do actually release my first album with the whole new sound, I don't know how it's gonna sound when I do release that one, so that so that I actually am like so there are actually people looking forward to it, not just some 10 followers on Instagram.
Yeah. I do recall you saying that to me, I think over a message like that you are just kind of releasing, just dropping singles as
Yeah.
they come about.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I found that interesting because knowing your background now and the span of music you listen to, the
Yeah.
genres you like tend to
Yeah.
be large format album
Yeah.
style things. So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
seems kind of like a departure from that.
Yeah, it is. I think there are a lot of trends changing in the music industry too. People don't have an attention span of a full album anymore. I think. I mean, like I won't say as a general statement, but I've noticed that it's kind of hard to like get people to listen to the whole album unless you are actually a dedicated fan of the artist.
Yes, I would agree.
So John Mayer did this thing in 2000 on his last album. He released in 3 parts. He released 4 songs. He released 4 songs in the first quarter. Then he released 4 songs another quarter, and then the third quarter was the whole album. So he built up the hype for the whole album, so that people are waiting for the last 4 songs.
Yeah, and see, I almost never listen to singles unless I know they're going to be part of a full album, and now I'm finding that I'm missing out on a lot of good stuff by doing that.
There'll be. I have seen a lot of electronic artists. They are releasing singles these days, but they do often lead to like an part of an EP or an album. But it's a part of a hype that you create to get more people into your music.
And I think you're very observant, knowing that that's something you're going to have to adapt your music to if you
Yeah.
want it to succeed. Before I forget this from my brain, though,
Mhm.
I did think when I listened to your new single, Your Warmth is Infectious,
Yeah.
I did feel like your sound took a little bit of a turn more towards like the kind of the lo-fi study beats type of
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah.
And I still love that stuff, but I
Yeah.
wonder,
Uh-huh.
do you find that like with the advent of streaming services and everything you just said about people who
Mhm.
have a shorter attention span, do you
Mhm.
feel like there's kind of this proliferation of like copycat artists who can just whip out a track and be like, oh, this is gonna make it on someone's chill beats study playlist on Spotify, and
Yeah.
no one's gonna actually get to know who that artist is?
Yeah, there's a lot of that. These days, a lot of people. So I'm on TikTok too, and I see this almost.
I just joined. I'll have to follow you.
And I always there's like a lot of artists that I see that they want to like blow up with just their first song.
Yeah.
Like just want to go viral. Like, what the hell are you gonna do after going viral? Like,
Yeah, you there's like you need a contingency plan for
yeah,
what
yeah,
happens.
yeah, exactly.
Huh.
So to me, the best way to go is to like build an audience from scratch, and then like think about like where you're gonna go, because I think in the field of music, being how to put this in a nice way.
No one says you have to.
um, Man, in the field of music, I'm completely blanking out. But see, okay, yeah, I was gonna say that musicians kind of make big like three ways. You're either exceptionally talented, and that brings you a lot of people, and then you go viral that way. You go viral once, and you either capitalize on that, or you just go viral once, and that's your legacy. You never do anything again after that. So if
Yeah, one hit wonder
yeah,
kind of.
if you want to go viral, then you risk that if you don't have anything follow up with that, because you're always judged by what you release after your first big thing, um, or the third part.
Exhibit A, Rick Astley.
Yeah, yeah, and he's actually a great singer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, poor guy.
I know.
And
My parents almost got married to that song. No joke. Yeah. And then it became a meme like 18 years later.
damn.
They dropped the bullet.
Yeah, you can never really tell about the internet trends, when they're gonna shift or when they're gonna like do what's gonna happen with these trends.
Well, look at the was that Fleetwood Mac song that
Oh my
came back
god!
because of the
Yeah,
guy on the longboard?
yeah,
Like now every Gen Z
yeah,
kid who
yeah,
is half the age
yeah,
of your average Stevie Nicks album is like, I love Fleetwood Mac.
yeah, yeah. And Fleetwood Mac, they're getting their royalty checks. They don't have a problem.
Right. Anyway, I'm sorry. Number 3, you were saying. Third way to go viral.
The third way is just word of mouth. You build an audience from scratch slowly, and you hope that your name gets out there by careful planning, and by having a decent. But I mean, the more following, the more audience you get, the more you feel like the need to hire a bigger team for PR and management type of stuff. So, but yeah, there are a lot of, as you said, the copycat type of people that go with the playlisting thing. And playlisting is that kind of like a short term thing, because once you are out of the playlist, that stays for like 1 month or 2 months, then your streams will like drop. I've seen this in a lot of artists, that they have like over let's say thousands of listeners, but they have only like 100 or 200 followers. So when they release their next music, it's only gonna show up like on those 100 200 followers first, and if the Spotify algorithm picks up, then it will like go to all the actual listeners.
That's interesting you say that, because it almost makes you feel like there's a disconnect between what people believe works with music promotion and
Yeah.
what does work. Because, well, I have like a bazillion playlists, and I get people messaging me all the time.
Yeah.
Hey, Kelly, found your playlist. Would you mind putting my track on? And I'm like,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Uh-huh.
That takes 12 seconds of my day, and
Yeah.
it might help you out. That's great.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if I looked at the stats and they opened up their artist profile on Spotify,
Yeah.
me putting their song on my playlist, even if I have like 400 or 500 followers, probably did very little for them. And that makes me kind of sad, because the intention is good, but
exactly.
Yeah,
the also, like, so the goal, like, is most people to get on the Spotify editorial playlist. That takes like sometimes that could happen like after like even a month after you release a song, or it could happen like after 6 months after you release your song or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, it's kind of depressing when you stop and think about the music industry, because it's I don't know. One of my earlier interviews, that my guest was talking about how like she doesn't really like the fact that music is commodified at all.
Yeah.
But yet you want, like in your case, you have these grandiose emotions you're trying to portray. You want to bring that to people, but you have to do it at the expense of, I gotta just grind through the Instagram posts and telling people about my shit. It's like, does it get exhausting?
That's the worst part. Yeah, it does get exhausting, and I think I've mentioned on one of my captions in the in the songs when I put a video, that there's like a pressure, especially on like currently on social medias, on artists to create, and the social medias, they're not making it easy for us. Like, we have to tell people to save our post, like to comment on it, to like it. And even though it takes like 5 seconds to like save a post to increase the reach of the post, but that's so shitty that they have restricted the reach only to these four options. As 3 years ago, it didn't depend on that. And sometimes like you could, if you have like many likes, your video could be featured on the explore page. But now there's so much like interaction that you have to get for the artist to like to the video on the big explore page. Plus the pressure of coming up with new shit every day, new and creative stuff every day, to gain people's attention.
Yeah, it's like the dancing monkey. Like, okay, all right, you gotta put yourself through burnout while these social media companies hold you hostage for your creativity. Which, it's making me sad.
You know what? They get all the benefit. The social media accounts, because they have made Instagram literally into those a shopping app now. They took out the button, the what's it called, the like button. No, sorry.
Oh, what, on Instagram?
Yeah. So like they replaced on the bottom. They replaced. There was a button here. They replaced that. The notification button. That it went to the top instead of below, and they replaced that with the shop button. So it takes you to the shop, because your thumb reflexes are to go to the bottom one first, because that's what we have been used to it.
That is so shady.
Yeah. So like when you click there, you see the first thing, it's a nice T-shirt of your favorite band, and you go towards that.
I mean, I guess that's good if you buy their merch, but also it's seriously like social reprogramming.
It is
taking advantage of our innate emotional reflexes to exploit them.
Exactly. It is
cool.
It is like that. And same thing with YouTube also. Like the content creators, they get, compared to what YouTube is making to the ads and stuff, they get so less. Like you have to have what it's called, 1,000 followers and over 100,000 views in a year to actually start making some money from YouTube. Yeah.
When you mentioned TikTok, I just got on TikTok like a week ago, and oh my God, I love it, but I already regret it. I need to put my phone in a locked box and put it in my freezer or something. It's so easy to just scroll through it endlessly, because it is so entertaining and there's so much good information on there.
Yeah,
but
there's so much good information, but it's also so cringe sometimes.
Oh yeah.
I feel so pathetic. Like sometimes some people that who like post stuff. I don't know. I'm very
Well, see,
judgmental.
and again, this is like the weirdest, most timely interview because I was thinking about how TikTok really could be a great platform for independent artists because of the nature of it. I mean, like I said, I've only been on it a week, but it does really seem like it is a little bit more egalitarian in the stuff it
Yeah,
shows you, and it
yeah,
learns about your taste,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it just seems like it's giving a much fairer footing
yeah.
to smaller
But
people.
I'll tell you another thing. I have some thoughts on that too. So, what TikTok is kind of doing is kind of forcing this idea to upcoming musicians that you have to create like a music that is viral worthy
Oh,
to.
so you can make it a sound so other
Yeah,
people can
yeah,
like duet it and
yeah.
stuff.
But the thing is, you know who benefits with this kind of stuff? Only the bigger artists. So you had a challenge with the Weekend songs, Drake songs, and
Billie Eilish
yeah,
is on there right now too. Yeah.
yeah, really, yeah. So they are profiting off of this. But the smaller artists, they just keep wishing that hope they blow up, instead of like actually working on music that they actually want to make, instead of making music that they want to go to viral with.
Huh, man, this is such an enlightening conversation though. It's so true. And like especially going on TikTok and you see all the interplay,
Yeah,
even though it's joking and it
yeah,
is funny,
yeah,
like between Gen Z and
yeah,
millennials and
yeah.
how they like making fun of millennials like me for wearing skinny jeans and having a side
Yeah,
part. Like
yeah.
it's playful and it is funny, but I also think that there's just a huge difference in how younger generations consume
Oh yeah, that's
music
true.
and like what their expectations for music are.
That's true. That's true. And a lot of times I find that if I like some song that I found on TikTok and I listen to the full song, it's kind of trash.
It's just, yeah, it was just like enough to make one
Yeah,
minute of it
yeah, yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
Wow. I'm like, this is leaving me questioning everything
yeah,
about like how I listen to music.
yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
jeez. Well, I have a couple more general questions
yeah,
for you as
sure,
I wind down. But
sure.
um, what is the definition of success to you?
Definition of success. To musically speaking, the way I want to go with the music, it would be if I could pay my rent and for my food with if I can live without having to worry about paying rent or having food on my table and being content with it, with my music. Uh, that should be, I think, that would be a successful life for me. It could be on a bigger scale, it could be on a smaller scale, but I think that would be my aim, to make a living from it like that without having to worry about
Mhm. Okay, very well. My other question then would be who are some major inspirations in your life, not just musical artists?
musical artists.
I
uh,
mean, they could be musical artists, but I don't know if you had like family or friends or anyone who's really helped you get to where you are.
yeah, nobody's really a musician in my family. I think I'm the only one who picked up an instrument. But my mom is really, she really supports me in that. I mean, you would think usually she's like always waiting for my YouTube videos to drop
Aw.
whenever I post, and she leaves nice comments there, and it's really nice to see. And I have and on I have I don't know, over the years, like being on Instagram, I've like kind of found a small community, and it's always very inspirational to me how people make music there. And of course, my best friend Shivang and my other good friend Rohit, they've been also like have listened to my ideas from being super shit to being okay or amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, so that also helps like to keep me move forward. My friend Anastasia, she also provides great feedback. So like it's so to me, the people who listen to my music like right away, not right away, I mean who are willing to give me feedback to make me get better at it,
Yeah.
that's a inspiration aside from it, because I get to hear their thoughts, and I get to hear things from their point of view on where I could improve. Um, so that's non-musically, and musically, as you know, it's all over the place.
Yeah, your list of musical influences was
Yeah.
hugely reaching, full of a lot of very, very good artists too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just going down my list here.
No worries.
You did. I mean, I guess you kind of answered this when I said what what would define success.
Mhm.
But what's your next step, kind of, with your music? What are your goals for the future?
Yeah. Currently, I have to. I'm. Well, first thing, I'm also learning to read how to read sheet music. That's like a big step that I have
Oh,
to.
good for you. That's hard.
That I have to, like, because I keep like putting it down every year. That I learn like just the first, like, how to I just memorize the notes, and I don't go further than that. But I have to like get to there, especially if I want to get more into composing stuff, And apart from that, building an audience, slowly building, like, I see it as building a community. So doing that, and learning, learning and being knowledgeable about the latest trends about the music that happens, to keep in touch with what's going on with the world, in the world of music. Yeah,
Fair.
and I plan to, like, once that I feel confident that I can show the music that I've been working on for a long time to people, then I will release my first full album, probably in a year or two, hopefully, if everything goes well.
Good. I am looking forward to hearing it. Then I have two final questions for you. My second to last one would be, what is one of the best songs you've heard in the last week?
In the last week, oh god. Just give me a second. I'm gonna go to my Spotify right now.
That's fine.
Because I have this playlist called Beautiful Music, and every time I hear very nice song, I just add it to it, and the playlist like over 24 hours long now. I'll just find it quickly. Where is it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I found this. So, do you know Woodkid?
Oh, I only know Woodkid from that song that he did that was
Assassin's
the
Creed.
opening Assassin's Creed Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Or Revelations, I think.
Yeah, Revelations. That's how I found him through back then. Yeah, so I really got into his music back then. But recently he released a song with Louis Garrel. It's a French name. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Okay.
The song is called Le Gram de la Los Angeles. Yeah, it's
Wasn't expecting that at the end if it's in French.
Yeah.
Wait, don't you live in Montreal?
Yeah, I do, and it's so shameful. I don't know French.
It's okay, that makes two of us.
Yeah. Well, that song's really beautiful. Amazing piano, amazing string arrangements, and both have like great singing voice, especially Woodkid.
Okay, well, that's on my list to check out after this.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, perfect. It just flashed into my head. I still need to record something for that Massive Attack song you told me I should cover.
Oh, yeah.
I listened to what, Mezzanine was that album, I believe.
Yeah, Mezzanine.
I listened to that like 2 weeks ago, and I thought, damn, how did I not get into this band sooner? They're so interesting.
I know, right? They're great.
Yeah. Well, then I'm gonna hit you with the 1-2 punch at the end here and ask, if you could only listen to 3 albums for the rest of your life, what would they be and why?
Oh my god. You know how hard this question is?
Yeah, I do.
Oh man.
I gain your trust for a whole hour and then I betray you at the end.
Oh god. Okay. I will say the first one will be Sigur Rós. Sigur Rós. Which album should I pick? Yeah, I'll go with Talk. And second one should be The National, High Violet. And third one should be Ben Howard's I Forget Where We Were.
See, that wasn't so hard, right?
Yeah, it was hard. I'm dying inside.
No take backsies. No, I'm keeping that question in forever because I think a lot of people have a really strong attachment to certain albums, and that just says so much about them as a musician. But
sure.
Aman, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. I have a lot of things to reconsider about my life. I feel like now.
Thank you for having me. It's not often that I get to talk someone's ears out about music stuff.
Oh, well, I'm the person.
Yes.
I'll mention your links and stuff at the end. Well, thanks again. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed my pleasant little interview there with lots of laughs with Aman from Brosandi. And because I definitely have said it both Brosandi and Brosandi over the course of the interview, I just want to make sure everybody knows how to spell it. It is Brosandi. So you can find him on all social media platforms under Brosandi Music. He's on Facebook, on Instagram, and also on TikTok if you're on TikTok. I've gotten a lot of joy just following him and seeing what little riffs and film score-esque things he, duets and stitches with. So go give him a follow, and as always, thanks for listening.